We have Kumar Ramachandran. He is the Senior Vice President of Products for SASE at Palo Alto Networks on SASE's place in today's cloud era. Kumar, welcome to today's summit. Great to have you.
A complete treat to be here with everybody.
Context, you're quite an exceptional individual in our industry, in our business. A little context of where you came from in your role now at Palo Alto.
Sure. I joined Palo Alto about 2 years ago on April 21 of 2020. That was the CloudGenix acquisition, formally closed. I was co-founder and CEO for CloudGenix in the SD-WAN and SASE spaces. And we started the company in early 2013. And prior to that, I spent a bunch of years at places like Cisco and Citibank doing networking and security.
Kumar, you know, we've never seen this kind of transformational cycle in the last 25 months. Some folks say 10x innovation and digital transformation that occurred right in the global pandemic and now the geopolitical concerns, right? When you think of digital transformation and you think about the CISO's role with the CEO, the board, the line of business, any ideas, any tips on how to be more effective communicating the cyber profile, the cyber threats, and the risk profile of the enterprise to the board and the CEO?
Yeah, the reality is that we've seen, like you mentioned, I think about 10 years worth of acceleration in enterprise architecture transformation in the course of the 10 months after the pandemic, right? People have had to scramble pretty aggressively, both in terms of setting up their networks right and in setting up security as we've dealt with this hybrid work model. And in most of my customer conversations, what's become very clear is that this new model of hybrid work, hybrid application delivery with hybrid cloud, it's really here to stay. So, what we've seen is that for our customers, a lot of these shifts in security, shifts in networking, they're essential and they've become a core part of their business. Just as an example, right? You look at a customer like Chipotle, they moved from where you walked up to a Chipotle restaurant, pointed at ingredients and grabbed your burrito, to really a place where it's a multimodal operation, right? That restaurant really has become multi-channel delivery, service delivery place. You can place a mobile order, third-party order, pick it up, touchless pickup, third-party delivery, all those things. So what that means is that the surface area of application access for that restaurant and user experience and the network availability has changed dramatically. So the investments they made in ensuring that they have a hybrid work, hybrid cloud model, they were like absolutely essential for their next generation of business. And the stories go on. You look at the customer like AutoNation, look at various manufacturers dealing with the next generation of just-in-time. All of these have put this pressure. So I think the board level conversation really is about business transformation. And we're now in a world where IT and security transformation is absolutely essential.
So it must be a pleasure, Kumar, to have landed at Palo Alto, one of the leading firms in the world. Talk to us about SASE and why SASE now?
Yeah, I caught a little bit of the last conversation on zero trust. And I think, SASE is a foundational architecture and product to be able to deliver true zero trust. I think someone cited even the zero trust NIST document, etc. There's a couple of observations I'll make, right? The first is that what we've seen with the early implementations of zero trust has been really that, a challenging arithmetic, right? You say zero trust, but really there's a lot of implied trust. The analogy I like to give is you walk to an airport, you have a boarding pass, and usually that boarding pass, along with your driver's license, it allows one user to access and enter one aeroplane, right? And that's what you really want. You want a user and application-based access model. The reality of most zero trust implementations today is that it really, once you walk in, you can enter any aeroplane, right? So it's no longer, it's not really constrained to a single application. And worse, within that aeroplane, you can access any section. You could, access the cockpit, etc. So you really want an implementation model where you have a single user being able to access or being able to set up policies for an application and sub-application, right? And so that is the concept of least privilege access that you want to grant. So what we've done with our SASE solution, so our SASE solution encompasses our security capabilities with Prisma Access and Zero Trust in ensuring a really great user experience and giving you all the benefits of a unified solution. So it encompasses security as well as our network with SD-WAN, and we deliver all of it as a cloud-based service.
Thank you. When you think about getting started with SASE, do you have to implement it all, or can you do it in pieces?
That's a great question. So we see customers do both. I have customers who've just said, you know what, we have a full-blown network and security transformation, and both for our private applications, our public applications, SaaS applications, and our users anywhere. We just want to ensure that we have an updated infrastructure. And usually it's a pretty straightforward project, right? You deploy our SASE solution in one fell swoop. And then we also have customers that have very specific projects. So the three projects I see really are, one, I would characterize it as, a VPN replacement, zero trust project, where you're really enabling your home users, mobile users to be able to access all their corporate and internet-based applications. Because in the old model, where people were still deploying VPNs, you were tromboning and bringing it back to your data center. Now that you really want all applications to be free, being able to make that transformation to SASE is helpful. The second big project that we see is around CASB and DLP. We're one of the only vendors out there who have a natively integrated CASB and DLP solution that works for all your applications. So for that same mobile user, what you can do is for 100% of your private applications, your public applications, these days, collaboration is the new TCP, right? Zoom has become the new TCP because we're spending so many hours on things like Zoom, Slack, etc. So traditional models of DLP, they kind of hold you back. You really want those DLP and CASB projects to have a solution that gives you the stepping stone into ZTNA. And then the third project that we see is around branch transformation. Oftentimes, what we are finding is that even for companies where people are walking back to the branch, the pressure on the network is immense, because even when you're in the office now in a hybrid work model, there's so much video collaboration going on that you really have to ensure that you have things like SD-WAN, security, all of it natively embedded. So you could start with any one of these three projects, right? A ZTNA or a CASB DLP or a branch transformation SD-WAN project. And I think you end up as long as you select the right building blocks, you can end up in a very, very powerful zero trust SASE-based solution.
Great stuff, Kumar. When you think about zero trust or a ZTNA, how do you ensure a full stack inspection while implementing SaaS?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, this goes back to some of the, disparity between the definition of zero trust and some of the implementations out there. Most implementations that we've seen, one of my customers, they call it the allow and ignore model, right? Where what happens is that the zero trust solution is inspecting like an SDP in a software-defined perimeter model. It's really doing some amount of app publishing, and it's after the initial handshake, it gets out of the way. It says, you know what, I'm going to allow this access, and then I'm going to ignore whatever happens. Going back to that airport example, that's as if once you get on the plane, we're not going to pay any attention to you whatsoever. Doesn't matter you're banging on the cockpit door or displaying other extremely provocative behavior, we're going to ignore you. We'd never run real life systems like that. And so you really need continuous trust verification. You need to ensure that it's not allow and ignore, that even after the initial handshake, initial access on an ongoing basis, you are indeed doing deep security inspection, ensuring that data is protected, data exfiltration, it's not happening, etc. And you have to do it for all your applications, right? You can't say, you know what, United and American Airlines planes will apply those inspections. The remaining airlines will get to it when we get to it. It truly has to be a solution that spans private apps, SaaS apps, internet-based apps. And so, I think it's pretty important when we think about zero trust that not only are we actually having narrow, least privilege-based access, but also applying deep inspection against those.
Hey, Kumar, when you think about the vision of Palo Alto, the mission of Palo Alto, and R&D, right, staying ahead of the bad guys, you folks have done a lot right over the years you've been in business. An amazing success story. Vision, mission, R&D. Pick one.
Yeah. So, I spent some of my early part of my career actually carrying those things called pagers that my 16-year-old daughter gets a chuckle because I still have one of those. And anybody that's held a pager and been on-call support, whether for security, for SOC operations or NOC operations, you just know that as companies and problems evolve at scale, manual interventions obviously are less and less desirable. So all of us are looking at the holy grail of automation. And I'm a big believer that most automation really starts from data. So we made a massive amount of investment in not only making sure that we have data from a variety of sources. So from a security and NOC perspective, we're able to analyze user experience all the way down when you're home, when you're mobile, when you're in a location, and we're able to look at different segments of that user experience. And we're also looking at, from a security perspective, we're looking at data at scale. So what we've done is that we've consolidated all our data lakes, and then we're able to run algorithms against them at massive scale. Here's one of the great innovations that Palo Alto has done, including in the SASE space. 95% of all new threats, they're stopped by inline ML techniques by Palo Alto. So if you let that sink in for a second, what that means is that in 95% of those 95% of the cases, there is no need for a first patient, a first victim. There is no need to identify signatures, publish signatures, etc. It's a very transformational way of defending against the bad actors. And the remaining 5%, of course, we have our industry-leading wildfire, advanced threat prevention, etc. But you're just really seeing the power and impact of that. And a lot of this only comes at scale, right? We stop 224 billion threats every single day, right? 4.3 million security updates. And so what we're doing is that we're continuing to evolve our platform such that we're able to ensure full automation of the cycle, both from a NOC perspective and a SOC perspective. So incident avoidance, right? So I spoke about 95% of new threats, they avoided with inline ML. And then there is incident detection, right? If you're trying to do incident detection, making sure there's a rich variety of sources based on which you're analyzing the information and from a rich variety of locations. And the third essential component is incident remediation. Now, to automate incidents from a remediation or automate incident remediation, you do need powerful system APIs, right? It can't just be CLIs masquerading as APIs. There has to be system-wide APIs. There has to be deep trust in the algorithms so you can actually reprogram the systems. And once you're able to do that at scale, then you get automation. Now, the reality with both security and user experience is that there's always going to be evolution. So we don't keep still at any point in time, but with the levels of investment we're currently making in data and automation, we continue to see massive impact in our customer base.
Mark, great stuff. Loved having you today here on today's Digital Theme Summit. Great to have you here. Thank you so much to you and Palo Alto Networks supporting today's summit. You can learn more about Palo Alto in the Partner Pavilion on the Engage platform, plus on the HMG website in the marketplace. Thank you.
Thank you.